I don't know how to start this video. It's different than my normal fluffy videos because it's so personal to me and it's real talk, but addressing my molar pregnancy is something that I've wanted to talk about for a long time. I kept on saying that I'll make this video when I'm pregnant because it'll be so much more easier to talk about and I'll be able to make it more positive and hopeful for other girls, but we're not pregnant yet. We've been trying again for a while and I'm still struggling. I still cry about this. And I realized that talking about it while I'm still really struggling might help somebody else not feel so alone. Not many know what a molar pregnancy is or what it entails, including myself until I was diagnosed. And I feel like that's why it's so needed to be talked about, because it's something that's super, super rare. And I don't want this to scare any girls that this is going to happen to because it is super rare. But I also want to be a voice to those women that it has happened to. So first I want to talk about what a molar pregnancy is. A molar pregnancy isn't preventable. It's just rotten luck. And it happens during conception, during fertilization, with the egg and the sperm. And there's different types of molar pregnancies. The kind that I had, the egg that the sperm fertilized didn't have the right genetic information. And so the sperm tried to overcompensate for it, and it created a lot of extra tissue in my uterus. A molar pregnancy is actually when a tumor develops with the pregnancy. It's kind of scary in that way that you're actually growing a tumor inside of you. If it doesn't turn into a molar pregnancy, then the baby would have really bad defects. We had previously gone through an early miscarriage and we have been trying again for 8 months. Honestly, I wasn't too stressed about it. I thought it was just going to happen when it was supposed to, and we weren't doing any type of like ovulation kits. I just wanted to have fun and, you know, not stress about it, and it will happen when it happens. Around the time right before I got pregnant, I was starting to kind of think, oh, okay, this is kind of taking a while. Like maybe in a few months, if nothing happens, we should see if there's anything wrong. But I wasn't too worried about it. Then I started to feel the same way that I had felt with the previous pregnancy, and I was pretty sure I was pregnant, and we had family in town. I just wanted to wait until like the family left to take a pregnancy test because I just didn't want to make it like a big deal if I like wasn't pregnant. So we took a pregnancy test and it was positive, and the line was super, super dark. So I was like, whoa, like this is awesome, like I'm super pregnant, like this is great.
Today is a big day. Lauren thinks she might be pregnant.
Yeah, I'm kind of nervous.
The longest 2 minutes of our lives.
This is so long. I was just probably gonna say not pregnant. We're pregnant. I can't even know what to say. I'm so excited. Everything about the pregnancy felt completely normal. I was tired, I was nauseous, but nothing that I couldn't handle. Like I felt, all in all, I just felt really excited that I was pregnant. I felt excited about the symptoms I was feeling because I was like, yay, this means I'm pregnant, like finally. And so I felt really good about it. Like I felt like these are all good signs. One thing that I really noticed was that I was super, super hungry. I ate like, I think like 4 or 5 times the amount I normally ate. Like I just felt like I was never satisfied. I was always hungry. And so that was kind of like you know, I didn't think anything of it because I know a lot of girls have a big appetite when they're pregnant. That was maybe the only thing that felt extreme for me. At about 7 weeks pregnant, I was almost 8 weeks. I was gonna have my 8-week ultrasound in a couple days. I woke up and I had some spotting. I was like a little bit nervous to see the spotting, but I still felt really pregnant. And I remember with my early miscarriage, I had started to not feel pregnant anymore. Like my boobs didn't hurt anymore, and I didn't feel nauseous or tired. Like I felt normal again. Like you kind of know with a normal miscarriage, usually you stop feeling the symptoms, but I had felt the symptoms really strongly. So I wasn't too nervous because I really did feel like I was still pregnant. I called the doctor and they were like, okay, like we should probably get you in. I went to the doctor and she checked me out and she was like, actually this is completely normal. Like a lot of women spot, like the spotting you have isn't anything to be worried about. Just worry if it's bright red blood. The doctor was like, let's do your ultrasound too and we'll just confirm that everything's okay. And so the ultrasound showed my sac and everything, but it didn't show a heartbeat. And the doctor was like, okay, like, you know, this could be good or it could be bad. Sometimes people come in thinking that they're further along than they are, and so you're measuring small, but this could just mean that you're not as far along as you thought you are. And I thought about it and I was like, yeah, hopefully it's that, but at the same time, I have super regular periods. Like every 27 days, I have my period. I was pretty certain that I wasn't wrong on my date. So, you know, I started to get a little nervous, but still hopeful that it wasn't completely bad news yet. And so the doctor was like, okay, let's start measuring your HCG hormone level, like blood hormone level, and just make sure that it's doubling every 2 days. So if you're going to miscarry, your blood levels won't be doubling, but they'll just be barely rising or they'll be declining. And we got my blood levels drawn and they were really, really high. And the doctor was like, oh, this is great. Like, this is really good. Like, you'll probably be okay. But since we haven't seen a heartbeat, let's get you an ultrasound every 2 days and keep drawing your blood every 2 days and just make sure. Let's like rule out anything crazy. I had to go to a specialty clinic the next time and roll out an ectopic pregnancy. They weren't allowed to say anything when they did the ultrasound. I said, well, can you tell me if it's good news or bad news? And she said, well, if it was bad news, you wouldn't be leaving today and you're fine to go. I was like, oh, yay, I think this is going to be okay. So it was like a lot of emotionally up and down time. I kept on going back for blood draws and ultrasounds, and my hormone level was like higher than any other normal pregnancy. It was just super, super high. It wasn't just doubling, but it was like times 5 of what it was like every time. So I had a ton of pregnancy hormone in me, and I noticed that my stomach was already showing, and I was only like 8 or 9 weeks at this point, and my stomach was like very noticeably showing. So for about 2 weeks, we did the blood draws and the ultrasounds, and time was coming where Josh and I had actually planned to go to Europe for a month and to North Carolina before Europe, because we had a wedding in North Carolina, and then we had a wedding in Italy, and then we had a retreat in Greece. And so it was super crazy timing for everything, and my wish was just to know before we left, like, if it was okay or not. Like, I just wanted to get things figured out, because I know it was going to be a lot harder when we were in Europe, and I wasn't even sure if I should go. So the day that we were supposed to go to North Carolina, we weren't sure, but I had an ultrasound and a blood draw with a different doctor this time. We go in and she does an ultrasound, and she said, oh, this does not look good. It looks like your sac is collapsing and it looks like you're about to miscarry. I told her we were going to North Carolina and then Europe, and we weren't sure what to do, and so she prescribed me a pill that would induce a miscarriage. I was really nervous about that because I am super against abortion, and I didn't want to do anything if there was like a chance that a baby could be okay. And so I asked her if there was any chance that the baby could be okay, and she said, I think it's about 0%. This does not look good to me. I was super heartbroken and just, it was really hard. The doctor said, let's just draw your blood one last time and I'll call you with the results. And then we left straight from the appointment to North Carolina. I cried the whole flight there. I was just really confused because I felt really pregnant still. I didn't feel like my symptoms were going away. Just my body was telling me, you're still pregnant, like this, you're not miscarrying. And so, you know, with like my own intuition, it was really hard for me to consider taking a pill to induce a miscarriage if I didn't miscarry naturally. At that point, I just wanted to miscarry naturally if that was what was supposed to happen. When I landed in North Carolina, I got a text message from my doctor that said, call me ASAP, don't go to Europe without getting an ultrasound, your blood levels came back extremely high. And I was like, okay, what does this mean? So I called the doctor, and the doctor said, your blood levels came back extremely high, and I think you're either pregnant with twins or you have a molar pregnancy. And she said sometimes twins are harder like to see right away, so there's a likelihood it could be that, or it could be a molar pregnancy, but she said whatever is going on, you're not going to miscarry. So it was super confusing for her telling me it was 0% chance that I wouldn't not miscarry, to then the next day saying there's no way you're going to miscarry, something crazy is going on. We get off the phone with the doctor, and I immediately Googled what is a molar pregnancy, and I Googled all the symptoms. What first showed up on Google was severe nausea, severe vomiting, rapid heartbeat, really high blood pressure. And I didn't have any of the symptoms. And so I started getting really hopeful that I was pregnant with twins. I've always hoped that I would get pregnant with twins. I have twin brothers. My mom's sister has twins. Twins are in my family. So I thought, oh, this would all make sense. I feel super pregnant, and I'm showing. I called my dad, who's a doctor, and he talked to one of his OBGYN friends and asked for some advice, and I wasn't sure what to do because our insurance didn't cover North Carolina, and my dad said that his friend offered to give us an ultrasound if we could get to Utah. And we shot the wedding in North Carolina, and then we flew out to Utah, and we had a wedding in Italy like 4 days later. And so it was just crazy. And so we get to Utah. The next day I had this appointment, and the nurse puts the wand full of jelly on my belly and starts rubbing around, and I told her, you know, everything that had happened, and she said, to me it looks really good, but you have a tilted uterus, so let's do an internal ultrasound just in case. And at that moment Josh was like, do I see two things on the screen? And she's like, I think there might be. And my mom was there, and we were all just like, for a moment, really hopeful. And then she does the internal ultrasound, and her face just goes blank. And she said, I'm so sorry, this does not look good. And so then the doctor comes in, and he says, he's super sweet, they're both super sweet, and he's just like, this is a state of emergency. Like, I don't know exactly what's going on. It could be a molar pregnancy, but whatever it is, it's not good. He said, you can't go to Italy. You have to go to the emergency room right now. We go to the emergency room. At this point, I was just like, I can't do this like up and down anymore. Like, it's good news, it's bad news. Like, I still kind of had this glimmer of hope because I had just felt it recently, but I was kind of in shock too. We get to the emergency room. I have another ultrasound probably like my 30th ultrasound by then. And the nurse was like, this definitely doesn't look like any molar pregnancy that I've seen, but I've only seen one or two in my lifetime. It was all just very confusing, and they didn't know what was going on. And then the doctor, the emergency room doctor, comes in and he says, yeah, to me this doesn't look good. I'm thinking it might be a molar pregnancy, but I'm not sure. But what I am sure is if you don't go in for emergency surgery right now, I think what's ever happening could prevent your chances of having children in the future if you don't get surgery right away. So it was like really scary for me because I couldn't let go of the hope that my body felt so pregnant that I couldn't let go of the hope of, wanting the baby to be okay. And like, I would have done anything to hope. And so he kind of explains to me what a molar pregnancy is, and he says, you do have a risk for cancer, and if it's a partial molar pregnancy, your chances of cancer 1 out of 15, and if you have a complete molar pregnancy, your chances for cancer is 1 out of 5. He says if it is what you have, this is going to be a long process of being monitored for cancer, which was kind of crazy to me. Like, I never expected that. The doctor said there's no time to waste. I can send you off to emergency surgery right now. And that really scared me because I just thought about the what if. Like, we don't know what's going on. Like, what if this is a healthy baby? Like, what in the end, even if it's only a 0.1% chance, like the doctor was saying. I just didn't like the not knowing, and I felt like I might be doing something wrong just terminating the pregnancy then. And I asked the doctor if I could just have a moment with my mom and Josh to make the decision, and he was really nice about it, and we prayed about it together, and we decided the best thing would be to terminate the pregnancy. I really struggled with that decision, but I think my mom and Josh had better hindsight than me that this pregnancy wasn't going to work, and it'd be better for having a future family this way. And I remember when I got out of surgery, waking up from the anesthesia, and the first thing I said to the nurse was, like, will I be able to have a baby again? And because, it's scary, like, when they're messing with your uterus in surgery, like, you think there might be a chance something could go wrong. And she just said, yes, you will. Just rest. You'll be able to. And that was like exactly what I needed to hear in that moment, and just such comforting words. And I just feel so blessed. I feel like it was meant to be that I had the nurses that I did. They were so compassionate, and one of the nurses even had gone through a molar pregnancy, and she had 2 kids, and then she had a molar pregnancy that put her off of having kids for like 2 or 3 years because she got cancer from it, and then she went on to have 1 or 2 more kids after that. And that was like a really inspiring story. And another one of the nurses had been going through infertility for 7 years, and just like helped me feel like I wasn't alone, and that there were other women as well who were struggling with this. And it was a beautiful thing to be surrounded by such kind women when I needed that the most. And so after the surgery, physically it's painful. I had to go on painkillers, and I think whether you miscarry naturally or you go through surgery because of complications, like, the physical part is painful, but nothing compares to the emotional pain for most women and partners. That part is very confusing, and I feel like that's what I want to bring to light, is that it's not talked about enough, that you grieve after miscarriages. It's just like a loss, like any other loss. You're losing a member of your family. Like, you're losing dreams of the future with that baby. One moment it's like you're the happiest you've ever been, and the next moment you're the saddest. It's emotionally a roller coaster. From one moment you're pregnant and so happy, your dreams are coming true, to the next moment you might not be able to have kids for a while. You might get cancer. Like, it's super confusing. Anyone's unique situation with their miscarriage or pregnancy complication, nothing is harder than what another person's going through. It's emotional for different reasons, and it's hard no matter what. Whether if it took you a long time to get pregnant or it didn't, whether you had a heartbeat or not, whether you were far along or you weren't, whether it was a severe complication or it wasn't, like, it's a loss and it's hard. Right after, the day after I had my surgery, I got on a flight to Europe. That was a tough decision, but the doctor said, if you take it really easy, you'll be okay. And when we were in New York City on our layover, I got a phone call from the doctor's office that had our results in, and it was a molar pregnancy, which really helped me feel a lot better about having that surgery. And it was actually a complete molar pregnancy, which is the higher risk of cancer. It was 1 out of 5, which was kind of a scary probability to me. If I ended up not having cancer, they said I still couldn't try to have a baby for a year if things went well. That kind of added a whole new level of sadness. It was just a lot to take in. And they said that we need to be sure that while we're in Europe that we can get monitored every week until my pregnancy hormone level hits 0. So while we were in Europe, we paid for international health insurance. It got monitored. My levels were dropping, but I still had pregnancy hormone in me, which for a molar pregnancy, your body still thinks it's pregnant for a long time. Some women even still have it in them up to a year. They end up getting cancer and have to get chemotherapy. For me, luckily, it was just 3 months. During that time, my body still felt like I was pregnant. I still was nauseous, tired, moody, like kind of like the never-ending pregnancy that you wish you didn't feel that way, because it's kind of just a reminder of what happened. But all in all, I feel really blessed that it was only 3 more months, and it could have been so much worse. Then after that, I never had pregnancy hormone rise, and my doctor in Hawaii was like a little less strict than my doctor in Utah, just because 3 months is like a very, very quick recovery. It was probably like the best results I could have, and so luckily 3 months after that, I was given the okay to start to try again, and so it ended up being 6 months instead of a year, which was a big blessing. And thank you with all of my heart to family, friends, strangers on the internet, everybody who's shown so much, like an insane amount of support and love. We have really felt the love and the prayers of so many people, and my heart is just so full that there's so many people that care about us that I didn't even know. Truthfully, like, I don't think any woman would say that they're grateful they went through a miscarriage or anything like that, but I'm grateful for what I've learned, and I'm grateful for the people that I've met, and just like how my eyes have been opened to these issues and these struggles, and that I can be there for other women. If you're going through miscarriage, infertility, complications, you don't have to go through it alone. Please open up and talk to somebody. There are so many support groups out there. If you need someone to talk to, I would love to be there for you, whether it's virtually, in person. We can all get through this. This will make us stronger and appreciate and love our future babies even more. I'm not sure if I'm going to do other vlogs on this, but I'm open to it if this would be helpful for any of you. I'd love to talk about life after going through miscarriage and struggling to get pregnant and just finding hope through all of this and not losing your faith. And just want to say thanks for supporting us and for all of your kind words and your love.